Hi there. So today I have 2 jars and 2 red onions because my friend Sam said he pickled some red onions and he didn't like them. So we're going to make him 2 different kinds. Classic, easy, simple pickled red onions and some balsamic pickled red onions. And I'm going to leave them in his refrigerator and let him see which ones he likes best. So first up today, we're going to classic, easy pickled red onion. So next for our brine, we want to get your brine going first so it can start working. And I want to do ½ cup of apple cider vinegar, a ½ cup of water, and then we're going to go for some sweetness. Now, I prefer in my red onions brown sugar, but you absolutely don't have to use brown sugar. You can use pure cane sugar. You can do honey. You can do your maple syrup here. Now, I really like 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, but if you do want to cut back on the sugar, just go with 1. And then I have a ½ teaspoon of whole peppercorns, and this is the mixed peppercorns. And then we want a teaspoon of kosher salt. Now we're just going to kind of bring this to a boil, give it a whisk or 2. We just really want that salt and sugar to dissolve. This is a red onion, and that's all the red onion that I needed. And that's what's great about pickled red onions, is if you just have this leftover onion that you didn't need all of it, just pickle it. It's really easy to do. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half, and then we're just going to cut this into rings. And they don't have to be super thin. You want them about like that. And the great thing about pickled onions is they're so versatile. They're great on your sandwiches, great in your salads. They are great on your burgers. So this is kind of a smaller of a red onion, which is why I went with the ½ cup of water and the ½ cup of cider vinegar. If your onion is a big, huge onion like this, you probably want to go about 3/4 cup of water and 3/4 cup of your apple cider vinegar. Now, once you come to a boil and everything is dissolved, you want to turn off your heat and let this sit for 5 minutes. I don't want to pour boiling liquid onto my onions because it can make them get a little too soft. So we're going to let this sit for 5 minutes. So I poured my brine mixture in, and you can see that the onions are kind of popping up a little bit. I probably could have went 3/4 of a cup each, but these are going to shrink up and kind of sink down into here. So I'm just going to help them along and push my onions underneath that brine. And then when this comes to room temperature, I'm going to store it in the fridge. Now, you can really start eating these right away, but I think if you let them sit a day or 2, they get a little more tasty. So I'm going to set these to cool, and then we're going to get started on our balsamic ones. So over medium heat, I'm going to go with 3/4 of a cup of balsamic vinegar, and I'm going to match that 3/4 of a cup with filtered water. So I have a ½ teaspoon of kosher salt, I have a teaspoon of whole peppercorns, and what I would really like is a teaspoon of dried thyme, but my friend Sam, he's out of time. So Sam, you need to get you some thyme, and I'm about to use some of your maple syrup. So you probably want to order some maple syrup too. Now, just like in our pickled red onions, you could do honey, you could do maple syrup, you could do brown sugar, you could do cane sugar. I'm going to do the maple syrup here, and I'm going to go with 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. And if you want to add them a little bit sweeter, you can go 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. Now, we just want to bring this to a boil and whisk it and make sure that the salt and the sugars have dissolved here, but we've come to a boil over here. So I'm going to turn this off, and you really want this to sit for 5 minutes. And so we're going to give our onions a nice thin slice and stuff them in our jar. And to our jar, I'm going to add 2 cloves of garlic that I smushed up there. Now, just like with your regular pickled red onions on your sandwiches, on your salads, on your pizza, but pickled red onions are great if you chop them up really fine and mix them in with a little mayo or cream cheese to add to your sandwich spread. They also make a great addition served alongside of roasted meats or on your charcuterie boards. So I gave it a little taste, and I think I'm going to up the maple syrup by a tablespoon. So Sam, now you only need some maple syrup. So if you didn't have any dried thyme, you could stick a couple sprigs of fresh thyme in here. I didn't have either one today, so we're just going without the thyme. But when you go over to the website on the recipe, it's going to call for a little thyme. And now that our 5 minutes are up, we're going to cover our red onions. And we're going to let this come to room temperature. And then we're going to pop its lid on it and store it in the refrigerator. And when Sam comes home and finds these pickled onions in his refrigerator, Sam, you got to come on and let us know what you think. Let us know which ones were your favorite. But look at that. Aren't they beautiful? Balsamic pickled red onions, classic pickled red onions. How delicious. Thank you all for being here. And if you got some red onions that you didn't use it all for, just make some pickled red onions. I'll see y'all later. Bye, y'all.